ribs, and I'm absolutely the best in the world, and also the most modest in the world, because if I wasn't modest, I wouldn't be saying I was the best in the world. I'd actually be saying the best ever and best in the universe, which, so just saying best in the world actually shows that I'm actually kind of modest. But anyway, that's just how I roll. I've actually started preparing the brisket to cook 18 hours ago, right? Because the way I see it, what you got to do is you got to understand what a brisket is. It's just a big hunk of meat. And the thing that makes a brisket good, especially when it's smoked, is a good smoke bark, which is the hard, crusty, smoky part that you really love, where all the seasoning is, and the smoke ring, where the smoke actually penetrates the brisket for a quarter inch, to get that smokiness into every bite. Okay, so let's take a look at the meat. Now, what you're looking at is my wrapped brisket. Now, by now probably shown you what the meat looked like before we started, but I trimmed a ton of fat off the brisket. Now, what I used to do is I used to not worry about it, but it really kind of slows down the cooking process, and it doesn't do anything. It is actually chilled. It's been sitting in the refrigerator, and now I need to let it get to room temperature. So I'm going to let this sit out for the next couple of hours while I prepare the grill. The one thing that I will do, though, in about an hour or so, is go ahead and take off the plastic wrap and put another layer of good seasoning on the meat, just so that I can ensure that it's well covered. So my cooking process is two steps. Now, this is either when I'm cooking brisket or ribs, I'll do the same basic thing. The thing that you got to understand about smoke, meat can only absorb so much smoke. It really doesn't matter. You'll get some restaurants or professional cookers who'll keep it on for hours, and that's fine. But the bottom line is only about a portion at a time is it actually absorbing the smoke. And after that, it's just adding. So what I'll do is I'll use a method where I'll smoke it in a brisket this size, a 16-pound brisket. I'll keep it in smoke for probably 8 to 10 hours at least, and then I'll wrap it tightly in aluminum foil, and then I'll throw it in the oven for about another 10 hours. So that would give about 18 hours of actually a combination of smoke and heat environment to ensure that it's cooked through, it's nice and tender, you got the flavor, but you also got the smoke. Okay, so then after it's smoked, I'm just going to wrap it and put it in the oven for another 8 to 10 hours. It really doesn't matter. I mean, after you've gotten it smoked and you got it wrapped as tight as you possibly can and put it in the oven, it's kind of hard to just overcook it. All you're doing is just making it more tender. That's all you're really, really doing. So low and slow is the key. The preparation does everything. People think that the briskets are hard to cook. They're really not. All you got to do is just be patient, right? I mean, I spent, the hardest thing was just cutting the fat off. I mean, it's really important that you get the fat off, as much as you can, just so you can get the flavor to where the meat is. And then I just let it sit. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, so if you think about it, I probably got 35 hours of work time into the meat, making it good, but probably only about 40 minutes of that was the actual work, So I did it the other night before I went to bed, and then I went to work all yesterday, and now I'm just getting up this morning to actually let it get up to room temperature. So now let's talk about getting the grill ready. Okay, my grill, I've got a grill that has, a gas portion, a charcoal portion I rarely use for direct heat, and then also a smoker box. what I'm going to do is I've got cherry charcoal briquettes. I mean, I really don't need that. That's not going to matter that much. But also cherry wood and some, I like to use these. I mean, these are real good starters. They just strike like a match, and then they continue to burn. You just put that in with the charcoal, and it gets the fire. Okay, so now, first of all, roll tide. Okay, so now we're going to take a good look at the final push before I actually put it on the grill. I've got the smoker out there getting ready. Okay, right now it's burning the charcoal, and then the charcoal, after it's done, I'll put the wood on there so it can get nice and smoky. I'll close the lid and get a good environment for it. But right now, what I'm going to do is do the final touch on the meat. The process that I've used, I've explained the process. You know, I've injected it, and I've also got nice seasonings on the outside. I mean, the moment I put the bark on there, which is the nice smoke and the smoke ring, this is going to be just great with the flavor. And then the cooking it low and slow, incorporating the double wrapped aluminum foil in the oven means that this is there's just no way for this not to be good. I mean, it's just, you know, someplace in there it just becomes impossible. Okay, so now I got the brisket on the smoker, wood chunks, making good smoke. And I'm going to close it down, adjust my vent on my smoker box and my chimney so I could get my temperature up to a good 200 degrees, and I'll maintain it there for at least the next 8 hours. What I've gotten so far. A nice and beautiful brisket. Notice that I put the thick end at the smoky end, but it's nice, moist. You can see the moisture still on it, and still got some cooking to do. So isn't that brisket just beautiful? And it's not even done yet. About 4 more hours of elegance to go to make it do what I'm gonna have it do. Okay, it has been 12 hours total. I've just taken the brisket out of the oven. There was a total of 12 hours of cook time that I did. I cooked it in the smoker, about 8 hours of smoke, and then I put it in the oven at 200 degrees for the last 4 hours. So now I'm going to let it rest. So there it is, still wrapped. I'll let it rest for the next 45 minutes, still rest so it can absorb the juices. And then in about 45 minutes, we'll open it up and take a good look and have our first taste of this brisket. Okay, so this is it. This is the brisket. The end of my process. Nice, moist. So we captured every bit of liquid, you know, that may have come out. It's captured, being reabsorbed. This is very nice, tender, succulent. It's very different from the typical brisket that you'll get from some barbecue places, because they'll just smoke them, and they tend to be a little bit drier than this. But this will be very moist, very flavorful. I'm very proud of it. So for those of you who wanted to know how I cook my brisket, I hope this process is pretty easy. You've tasted the brisket. What do you think?
This is delicious brisket. This is, I feel, personally, myself, I feel this is the best brisket ever.
Best ever?
I love it.
You do?
I love it.